way it could be done. If the exercise goes on right now, next election can take place after, on the basis of the existing territorial constituency. But when the next election will be there, from the very beginning, the members of the Lok Sabha constituencies will be able to know what would be their territorial area, what would be their population size of their constituencies. With these words, I support the constitution amendment proposal moved by the Honorable Law Minister. Thank you, Madam.
Shri Ragula Chandrasekhar Reddy.
Thank you, Madam. I rise to support the bill, Madam. Now, I welcome the move that Census 2001 should be made applicable for the purpose of this delimitation. The delimitation of constituencies is very much essential for a vibrant democracy. It has to be done periodically to avoid disparity. The Census Commission should be asked to publish census figures immediately to enable Delimitation Commission and others to work for the next general election as per the latest population figures. It can be made possible with the help of software and various other machinery available to complete this exercise quite quickly and to utilize the latest figures for next general elections. The delimitation should be in according to the provisions of the law and guidelines laid down for that purpose. Further, in future, the delimitation should invariably be done immediately after every census as per the constitutional provisions. The role of associate members is not clear and they are made mere spectators. A working paper was released basing on the 1991 census and this was not discussed with the associate members at the time of preparation and release. Except the replacement provisions for the associate members, nothing is contemplated to utilize their services, experiences, etc. We are aware that they are all representing the various political parties both in ruling and opposition. Hence, I request the Minister to see that their views are heard and implemented if they are in accordance with the law and guidelines laid down for this purpose. With these words, I support the bill. Thank you, Madam.
Okay. Shri Matilal Sarkar. If with the speed we are going, I think we can finish with the voting faster than expected.
Thank you, Madam. While speaking on the Constitution 96th Amendment Bill 2003, I like to put forward here some observations and some points for clarity and for justification. Delimitation is obvious and it has fallen overdue. There is no doubt about it. One cannot deny this fact. But the thing is that one process had already started and different states, state governments, state machineries were put to tremendous pressure for completing the delimitation works according to 1991 census as soon as possible. And I think many of the states have sorted out how to complete this work according to 1991 census. Now, when the process has come to the almost to the end, the point of 2001 census has arisen. Here, I am to seek clarification on some points. What about this 2001 census? Honorable Minister has already stated that the figures that is applicable to this delimitation purposes are still due to be received, and it may take some months more to have these figures. So the process will be getting late. But the election, parliament election is ensuing. The message to the has already gone that the delimitation is going on and election will be held on the basis of this delimitation. Already the message has gone to the people and some aspirations have cropped up. So, if we take these amendments, whether it will be possible to hold election according to 2001 census. We do not like to deprive the people. We have deprived the people for more years of their delimitation benefits. What do these benefits come to be? These benefits are like this. At present there are constituencies and the population of which is double or triple of the other constituencies. So the rational and even size of constituencies should be established by delimiting. And another point is that the population about the constituencies should be even as far as practicable. Third point the delimitation has to give to the people is the appropriate number of seats of reservations to the people of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And if the election is held without this delimitation process being completed, then all these benefits will be weighted by the people this time also. That is, the people will be deprived during this election also. That is why an amendment is not for the sake of amendment only. This must have a relevance to the election. That is why I see that it will be extremely impossible to complete the process before holding the election, the ensuing election, if we take up the 2001 census. So, if we like to give the benefits during this election, then the process which is already completed may be given effect. May be given effect, which has already been started and nearing completion. And if delimitation is to be made according to 2001 census, then I seek clarification whether it is possible to complete the process before holding of the election. We are not, our party stand is that we like to give the benefit of the delimitation process in the ensuing election itself. We do not like to deprive them another 5-6 years. And with these words, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. V. Maitreyan.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Last year, around the same time, I had the occasion to speak on the delimitation bill with 1991 as the basis. After the Parliament enacted the Act, the Delimitation Commission was set up on 12th July. Now 10 months later, I again stand before you to speak on this amendment bill with 2001 as the base year. In between, the Commission had done significant work, has done solid groundwork. It has prepared paper 1 and paper 2. It has met with the representatives of various state committees. Undoubtedly, significant progress in the work by the Commission in the 10 months of its inception. But now, because the amendment has been brought and the base year is now changed, the Commission will have to rework the whole thing once again. But look at what the government has done. Less than a year after the enactment of the Delimitation Act 2002, the government comes before the House with an amendment. The statement of the objects and reasons of today's bill mention that in the light of views expressed by various intellectuals, including lawyers, political thinkers and other experts, the delimitation being done after a gap of 30 years it should not be done on the basis of outdated figures of 1991 census. Does it require intellectuals to come and tell us that the figures of 1991 census are outdated in 2002? Did the government not have people who could apply their mind on this issue? Last year, Shri Arun Jaitley, while defending the 1991 base year, said that 2001 census will not be published for several months or years. Has that situation changed now? Even now, according to Mr. Jaitley, the 2001 census data are not out, and it is going to take at least a couple of months from now onwards. The Union Cabinet Minister and the spokesperson of the Cabinet, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, she had said while announcing the change of the base year that the major advantage would be a substantial increase in the number of seats for the SC and ST. 8 seats in the 91 base year, and it will be nearly double, 15 seats in the 2001. Did it take 1 year for the minister to find out that the SC seats will be nearly double as in the census 2001 as compared to 1991? It's another matter that the delimitation idea under 1991 census, it had worried several party leaders and gave them sleepless nights according to some press reports. And now, anyhow, the 1991 year has gone and we are talking about the 2001 as the base year. I would like to touch upon 2 specific issues pertinent to Tamil Nadu. As per the existing 1971 census, we have 3 seats for ST in the assembly. In the 91 census, this will drop down to 2. Considering the special status of the scheduled tribe community, I would urge that the central government and through it the Delimitation Commission, that this existing number of I do not know the 2001 census what is going to be the state of affairs. So I would urge the government and through it the Delimitation Commission that the existing number of 3 should not be reduced down and it should be maintained as 3 only. As far as the scheduled castes are concerned, with the 1971 census, there are 42 seats, which will now increase to 45 in the 91 census, and probably it's likely to increase to 47 in the 2001 census. This increase of 5 seats for the SC community as compared to the existing 42 is highly welcome, considering the fact that they deserve this increase due to the increase in their population. However, it is observed that the same constituency is found time and again, which is topping the list prepared in the descending order on the basis of the proportionate population of the scheduled caste community proportionate to the total population. For example, the Nilakote Assembly constituency in Dindigul district, the Acharabakam constituency in Kanjipuram district, the Valparai constituency in Coimbatore, and the Perambur constituency in the city of Chennai. Now, these have been reserved constituencies for the past 30 years since the last delimitation in 1972. And they will continue to remain as reserved constituencies for another 30 years till 2031. This deprives the candidates from other castes their democratic right to contest elections from those constituencies which they richly deserve. Looking at it from the other angle, because the same constituencies continue to be reserved, because some other constituencies where the scheduled caste community, they share the second largest share, they never have the opportunity of their constituencies being represented in the reserved constituency. So, looking at it from both ways, I think the right course would be to have the reserved constituencies on a rotational basis. So, I would strongly urge the Honorable Minister to consider this aspect, one, to give the other candidates in the existing reserved constituencies a chance, and for the reserved candidates to have a fresh chance in the other constituencies. Shuffling, refixing and readjusting. Finally, the central government and the Delimitation Commission, they should fix a specific time frame by which the delimitation process as per the 2001 census would be completed, probably well before the 2004 Lok Sabha elections. With this, I support the amendment bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Shri R. Shan Mungasundram.
Thank you very much, Madam, for the opportunity. Honorable Minister has promised that the 2001 figures, census figures, will be out in another 3 months, and therefore 2001 can be incorporated instead of 1991. This is practical because we have to think practically and decide. And the Honorable Minister, instead of following the 1991, which is going to be outdated in another couple of months, is come forward with this bill to incorporate 2001. It is welcome, most welcome, and we support this bill for this reason. Madam, the Honorable Minister has commented about the associate members of the Commission. It is not only they should have a vital role to play, they should have some assistance from the Commission. There is a complaint that the state chief electoral officers are not helping or assisting those associate members by furnishing the required information or statistical details and the territorial maps, revenue maps, etc. Therefore, the associate members of the Commission, because they represent important political parties, and therefore they should be supplied with all the required details, and that sort of assistance is required. And I hope and expect the Honorable Minister will take care of this. Madam, our state is implementing the population control on population effectively, and any census figures should not be taken to penalize those states which are implementing strict population control measures. With these words, I support the bill.
Thank you. Sanjay Nirupam.
उपसभापति महोदया, मैं इस बिल के समर्थन में खड़ा हूं। अरुण जी चौंक रहे हैं। पिछले एक साल से, जब से डिलिमिटेशन का यह बिल पास हुआ था एक साल पहले, तब से पूरे देश में ये बड़ी एक चर्चा का विषय रहा कि 1999 की जनसंख्या के आधार पर अगर 1991 की जनसंख्या के आधार पर अगर डिलिमिटेशन होता है तो उससे कोई फायदा नहीं होता, इसलिए 2001 की जनसंख्या के आधार पर होना चाहिए। और तमाम राजनीतिक दलों के जो कार्यकर्ता हैं, नेता हैं, एमपी हैं, सबने अपने अपने ढंग से वो रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया, अपनी बातें रखी। हमारी पार्टी की मीटिंग में भी इस पर बड़ी गंभीरता से चर्चा हुई। हमारी पार्टी ने भी जो ऑल पार्टी मीटिंग थी उसमें अपनी बात रखी थी, और हम बड़े शंका में जी रहे थे कि पता नहीं सरकार मानेगी कि नहीं मानेगी। अंततः सरकार ने माना और उसमें एक संशोधन लाके 2001 को इनकॉर्पोरेट किया आपने। ये एक बहुत ही अपार हर्ष की बात है। लेकिन जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात है, जैसा हमारे दक्षिण के साथी बता रहे थे, कि अब ऐसा नहीं हो कि ये रिपोर्ट आने में बहुत देर लग जाए। तो डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन की रिपोर्ट को एक डेडलाइन देनी पड़ेगी कि भाई 1 साल के अंदर, 6 महीने के अंदर आप अपनी रिपोर्ट दें, और जो इसको रीऑर्गेनाइज कर रहा, पुनर्रचना करनी है, जो निर्वाचन क्षेत्रों की पुनर्रचना की रिपोर्ट आप दे दें। जो एक हमारे पास जो जानकारी उस हिसाब से 15 से 16 लाख के आसपास, 16 लाख के लगभग आप एक निर्धारित करने वाले, 16 लाख वोटर्स पे एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी बनेगी, और 3 लाख विधानसभा, जहां तक मेरी जानकारी, अगर मैं जानकारी गलत हो तो मुझे आप करेक्ट कर दीजिएगा, 3,10,000 के आसपास विधानसभा जाएंगे। अब इस बारे में एक आपका ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहूंगा मैं कि शहरों में तो बड़ा सहज होगा। जैसे मुंबई की अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी लें तो 15-16 लाख की कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी, तो शहरों में एक उम्मीदवार के लिए घूमना, मेहनत करना, काम करना आसान है। लेकिन यही 16 लाख की आबादी, इसी 16 लाख के वोटर के ऊपर अगर मान लीजिए ग्रामीण क्षेत्र का एक निर्वाचन क्षेत्र निर्धारित किया जाए, तो उस उम्मीदवार को, ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के उम्मीदवार को बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि एरिया बहुत बड़ा होगा। वहां की आबादी बड़ी घनी नहीं होती, शहरों की आबादी घनी होती है। ऐसे में जो एक जो बड़ी जो एक चिंता की बात निकल के आती है, वो चुनाव के दरमियान जो खर्चे का विषय होता है। एक व्यक्ति को दक्षिण मुंबई में कैंपेन करना, और उसी व्यक्ति को हमारे आपके पड़ोस में हमारे बुल्ढाना के एमपी बैठे हुए पूछिए कितनी बड़ी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी है उनकी, या फिर हमारे ठाणे की एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी, रामटेक की कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी, या रामनाइक साहब की जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी है, एक बार वो जोगेश्वरी से शुरू होती है तो वसई पालघर होते हुए पता नहीं कितनी दूर विरार सब पार कर जाते हैं। 127 किलोमीटर, सिंधुदुर्ग 127 किलोमीटर। तो इतने बड़े क्षेत्र में एक उम्मीदवार को अगर अपना कैंपेन करना है, वो और उसकी तुलना में दक्षिण मुंबई या दादर का क्षेत्र जो दक्षिण मध्य मुंबई है, उस क्षेत्र के उम्मीदवार को जो कैंपेन करे, दोनों के कैंपेन में मेहनत में बहुत बड़ा फर्क है, खर्चे में भी फर्क है। तो इस आशय का भी इस बारे में भी कुछ ध्यान रखना चाहिए, इसको कंसिडर करना चाहिए। ये हमारा एक इस बिल के ऊपर बोलते समय एक मेरा एक निवेदन होगा। दूसरा क्या हुआ, 2002 में वोटर लिस्ट अपनी रिवाइज हुई है। अब 2001 सेंसस की रिपोर्ट के आधार पर आप कर रहे हैं, जब वोटर लिस्ट जो रिवाइज हुई है उसमें कई कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में वोटर्स और पॉपुलेशन, आबादी और मतदार जो मतदाता है, उन दोनों के रेशियो में जो आमतौर पर एक रेशियो होता है 7 और 40% के आसपास, अब वो रेशियो नहीं रहा, रेशियो बिगड़ गया। उसका एक उदाहरण देता हूं वाशिम के बारे में। आप वाशिम जो हमारा एक मतदार संघ, हमारा जो एक चुनाव क्षेत्र है, उस चुनाव क्षेत्र में बिल्कुल यही स्थिति, जितनी लोक संख्या है लगभग उससे थोड़ा बहुत कम वोटर, जबकि आमतौर पर ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। तो इस समस्या से कैसे, इस समस्या का कैसे समाधान ढूंढा जाना चाहिए, इस बारे में भी एक मंत्री जी आपका मैं ध्यान आकर्षित कर रहा हूं। और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण यह है कि लोकसभा और विधानसभाओं के सीटों की अगर पुनर्रचना कर रहे हैं तो उसके साथ साथ सीटों को बढ़ाने के बारे में भी सोचना चाहिए। महाराष्ट्र में विधानसभा, बिहार में विधानसभा, यूपी में विधानसभा, इन विधानसभा की सदस्य संख्या भी बढ़नी चाहिए, बिल्कुल उसी तरह से लोकसभा की सदस्य संख्या भी बढ़नी चाहिए। मुझे अच्छा लगा सुन के इधर से कि इनकी भी इच्छा की बढ़नी चाहिए, जबकि अब तक इंप्रेशन यह था कि दक्षिण के राज्य इसके खिलाफ, क्योंकि क्या हुआ, जो पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल का जो हमारे यहां कार्यक्रम था हमारे देश में, उसमें दक्षिण के राज्य की जो सरकारें थी या फिर पश्चिम के राज्य की सरकार है, जैसे महाराष्ट्र हो, गुजरात हो, या फिर तमिलनाडु, कर्नाटक, या फिर उधर केरला की जो सरकार थी, इन सरकारों ने तो जनसंख्या नियंत्रण के कार्यक्रमों को बड़ी ईमानदारी से लागू किया, लेकिन उत्तर के राज्यों में जनसंख्या नियंत्रण का कार्यक्रम बहुत ढंग से लागू नहीं हो पाया, जिसकी वजह से वहां पर लोक संख्या खूब बढ़ी, जनसंख्या खूब बढ़ी, इधर जनसंख्या कम बढ़ी। तो ऐसा एक इंप्रेशन था कि दक्षिण के राज्यों का एक ऐसा आग्रह है कि सीटों की संख्या नहीं बढ़ाई जाए। मेरा निवेदन होगा सीटों की संख्या बढ़ाई जानी चाहिए, लेकिन उस समय ऐसी स्थिति में एक पूरा का पूरा वो बैलेंस बिगड़ न जाए, इसका ख्याल रखते हुए जितना प्रतिशत, 1% तय कर दिया जाए कि तमाम विधानसभाओं में, पूरे के पूरे लोकसभा में 10% सीटें बढ़ेंगी। अगर 10% सीटें बढ़ती है तो सारे के सारे राज्यों से उसी अनुपात में, उसी प्रतिशत में, उसी परसेंटेज में अगर सदस्य संख्या बढ़ती है तो कहीं भी असंतुलन नहीं होगा। तो सीटों को बढ़ाने के संदर्भ में भी सोचना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये 2026 तक का मामला है। 2026 से पहले अब रीऑर्गेनाइज या भी सीटों को बढ़ाने के बारे में या सीटों के पुनर्रचना के बारे में कोई विचार नहीं हो रहा, कोई बिल नहीं होने वाला, सरकार को कोई चिंता नहीं करनी है। तो 2026 तक इस देश की क्या पॉपुलेशन होगी, आज जहां 16 लाख आप तय कर रहे हैं, उन सीटों में वोटर की संख्या, पॉपुलेशन जो हो जाएगा वो 25 लाख से भी ऊपर जा सकता है। तो आज जो एमपी 16 लाख, 15 लाख, 14 लाख वोटर्स के सामने कैंपेन करके लोकसभा में आ रहे हैं, उनको 2026 आते आते 25 से 30 लाख वोटर्स को झेलना पड़ सकता है। इसलिए कहीं ना कहीं सीटों को बढ़ाने की दिशा में, जी साहब, हाँ, ये 7 में लगभग इतना ही। तो सीटों की संख्या अगर बढ़ाएंगे तो इस समस्या का एक सही समाधान निकल सकता है। धन्यवाद। इसी के साथ मैं इस संशोधन विधेयक का समर्थन करता हूं।
संघ प्रिय गौतम जी।
माननीय सभापति महोदया,
हाँ,
अभी पिछले वर्ष हमने परसीमन संबंधी संविधान संशोधन विधेयक पारित किया था और परसीमन आयोग का हमने गठन कर दिया, उसने अपना काम प्रारंभ कर दिया। लेकिन सुझाव इस प्रकार के आए कि 2001 को भी 2 साल हो गए, इसलिए अच्छा हो कि परसीमन का आधार जनगणना 2001 की हो, न कि 1991 की। ये बड़ा तर्कसंगत एक विचार था। सरकार ने इसको स्वीकार करके एक औचित्यपूर्ण कदम उठाया और इस विधेयक को लाए। मैं इसका समर्थन कर रहा हूं, लेकिन एक बात मुझे कहनी है कि वक्त, ताकि सनद रहे और वक्त जरूरत काम आए। महोदय, 14 अक्टूबर 1956 को महाराष्ट्र में डॉक्टर भीमराव अंबेडकर ने बुद्ध धर्म को स्वीकार किया था और उनके साथ महाराष्ट्र के अनुसूचित जातियों के लाखों लोगों ने बुद्ध धर्म को स्वीकार कर लिया और वो हिंदू धर्म से हट करके जनगणना में बुद्ध धर्म की श्रेणी में लिख दिए गए और जो सुविधाएं अनुसूचित जातियों की उन्हें आरक्षण के रूप में मिलती थी वो समाप्त हो गई। लेकिन 1990 में फिर एक संविधान संशोधन हुआ और जितने नए जो बुद्धिस्ट हो गए थे फिर उनको अनुसूचित जातियों के अधिकार आरक्षण के वापस कर दिए गए और उनको उसी श्रेणी में गिन लिया गया और 1991 की जनगणना में इसका प्रकाशन हो गया। लेकिन परिसीमन न होने के कारण और उनकी संख्या घट जाने के कारण वहां पर स्थिति महाराष्ट्र में पहले ये थी कि 36 विधानसभा की सीटें आरक्षित थी अनुसूचित जातियों के लिए और 6 लोकसभा की सीटें आरक्षित थी। वो घट करके 18 आरक्षित सीटें विधानसभा की रह गई और 3 आरक्षित सीटें लोकसभा की हो गई महाराष्ट्र में। 1991 के बाद 3 लोकसभा के चुनाव हो गए, 96, 98, 99, लेकिन चौबेजी गए थे, छबेजी होने दुबेजी रह गए। कहा तो अनुसूचित जाति जनजातियों की सीटें बढ़ने की बात कर रहे हैं, 18 सीट उनकी विधानसभा की कम हो गई और 3 लोकसभा की और बराबर वो सीटें खोते चले आ रहे हैं। ऐसी इसलिए अगर कहीं ये रिपोर्ट प्रकाशित नहीं हुई जल्दी तो आने वाले चुनावों में भी उनको लाभ नहीं मिलेगा और उनको अपनी सीटें गंवानी पड़ेंगी। ये उनके साथ बड़ा घोर अन्याय होगा। इसलिए मैं प्रार्थना करूंगा कानून मंत्री जी से कि कभी कभी हम रात के 2 बजे तक लोकसभा राज्यसभा को चलाते हैं तो ये जो सेंसस रिपोर्ट है दिन रात काम करा के इसे पार्लियामेंट के मानसून सेशन से पहले मंगा लीजिए ताकि ये इनकॉर्पोरेट हो जाए और उन लोगों के साथ जो अन्याय हुआ वो न्याय में बदल जाए। इन शब्दों के साथ मैं आपके विधेयक का समर्थन करता हूँ।
Thank you. Shri Premachandran.
Person for giving me this opportunity to speak on this Constitution Amendment Bill. Madam, timely delimitation is essential and highly required for the better democracy. But Madam, in this case, we are discussing on a constitutional amendment bill in respect of a subject matter which is not in existence. What I meant is, now we are discussing on the constitutional amendment in respect of a census report which is to be published or which is anticipated to be published in the month of September or October 2004. In anticipation, we are amending the constitution that the next delimitation will be on the basis of the would be published census report of 2001. Therefore, I would like to state that this is premature, this constitutional amendment is premature because all the exercise in respect of 1991 census was done by the Delimitation Commission. 8-9 months exercise has been done and so many efforts were also put in, and now it is suddenly it is being shifted to 2001 census, means the next coming general election this is not going to happen. The Honorable Minister in his opening remarks has said that this will be expected to be published in the month of September or October. That means in the next coming general election, this delimitation, the benefit of the delimitation process is not being given to the public, especially to the poor SC, ST people. Their representation will not be increased. That is the resulting effect of this amendment according to me. And also regarding the 1991 census, Madam, the 1991 census was published in the official gazette in the year 1995. What would be the fate of 2001 census? Suppose the 2001 census gazette publication is, if it is being delayed, that means this delimitation process will be prolonged and it will also be delayed. Then that means the fruits or the benefits of the delimitation process is not going to reach the people within a immediate future. That will be the result of this amendment. As far as Article 82 is concerned, the delimitation has to be done in 10 years, take place after every 10 years. But no delimitation has taken place since 1971. So my question is, what prevents in having this delimitation on the basis of 1991 census? If it is not possible to having, now the Delimitation Commission is having or is going to work on the provisional assessment of the population which is expected to be published within the immediate future. So better to have the 1991 census delimitation so that this will be done with an immediate effect and it will be effect in the coming General Assembly election also. The second point which I would like to make, madam, is regarding the reservation of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. As far as the reservation of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is concerned, for the last so many decades, particular constituencies, whether parliament constituency or state legislature assembly constituency, it is being reserved permanently for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Madam, is it just and fair? We have to think about it. This reservation should be on rotation basis. What is the principle adopted for the reservation? Whether the principle adopted for reservation is for serving the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe population in a particular constituency, I don't think it is fair, because this reservation is for having adequate representation of the backward people, especially the SC/ST people, in the policy making body and also in the administration. If that be the case, why it is not being rotated? Why it is being fixed for a particular constituency is only on the ground that particular constituency is having larger population of SC and ST people. If that be the case, we are not able to come, or we are not able to get rid of this casteism or backward people or this SC/ST people's discrimination is not being over. We are accepting it. In the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment, both houses has accepted the principle. In the Panchayati Raj institutions as well as in the Nagarpalika institution, it is accepted that it is on rotation basis. The Honorable Minister has replied, the Honorable Minister responded in the other house that it is on records, it is seen that because some constituencies there may not have any SC/ST people. If they may not have the SC/ST people, somebody from the other constituency may come and contest there. Why certain constituencies are being reserved for the elite class or the higher caste people? Let the SC/ST people also contest throughout the state. Let they come to the mainstream. If that be the principle, it is being adopted for the reservation, it is being denied. If Panchayati Raj institutions in the wards, corporations, municipalities, if even there is no voter in there in a particular ward, another candidate from another ward comes and contests there. So it is not possible in the case of parliament constituency and assembly constituency. So it is not fair. So adequate representation of the SC/ST people has to be there, and they should be adequately represented, as well as they should be respected also. So my submission is not on the basis of the population of a particular constituency. Regarding, and the main thing to be taken into consideration is it should be on the rotation basis, so the benefit will be given to all. And also, I would like to make another point also regarding another anomaly regarding the delimitation process. That is in respect of state legislation, in my state, particularly in Kerala, this delimitation process are going on. Suppose the principle which is being accepted is followed there, the number of seats in a particular area will be increased and the number of seats in southern parts of the Kerala will be decreased. Because we are accepting the principle that average population per constituency is total population divided by the total number of seats. And number of seats in a particular district will be total population in the particular district divided by the average population. If that be the case, if that be the principle adopted, what will happen, madam, is in the northern area of my particular state, 7 to 9 seats will be increasing. The southern parts and middle part, especially the Travancore, Cochin part of Kerala, they have implemented this family planning program in an effective way. It was a national campaign, national program, which is implemented throughout the country and effectively implemented in the southern parts of the Kerala. They will be punished and they will be suffered. So number of seats in the southern parts of the state will be decreased. So that point has also to be taken into consideration, for which I have to make a suggestion that the district has to be taken as a unit, and if it is being given and the number of seats is being allocated, this disparity could also be avoided. Madam, with this observation, I don't know whether this, once again I would make my apprehension, if this 2001 census report, suppose it is being further delayed, and as a part of this, the delimitation process is also delayed, then it will be not fair as far as the people is concerned. The benefit will not be given. So whether the ministry is able to assure this house that this will be expedited in a very urgent and immediate manner. With these words I conclude. Thank you very much.
Shri Fali Nariman.
Actually, because I am a little concerned that we are saying goodbye to the 1991 census, and we haven't yet got the 2001 census, with the result that if you read Article 170, we find that we may be, perhaps, I'm too pessimistic, but we may be, find ourselves in a difficulty of not being able to hold an election to a particular state. I would respectfully suggest that we should follow the expedient which we had in the amendment to Article 22(3) by the Constitution's 44th Amendment of 78, where there was a clause in the Constitution Amendment Bill saying that this act will come into force on such date as the central government will appoint. So we don't then fall between two stools. At least we have the 1991 census ready, it is available, the delimitation has taken place, elections can be held on that basis. And if by some mischance, as honorable members have been suggesting throughout, if by some mischance the 2001 figures are not published or the delimitation does not take place as anticipated for various reasons which we are at the moment not able to contemplate, what's going to happen? We cannot have a constitutional impasse. The thing must flow, everything must proceed. Therefore, how do we provide that if we don't have the 2001 census, things will go on under the 1991 census? That can only be if we have a clause which says that this section will come into force on such date as the central government shall appoint. Otherwise, we are burning our boats. That's the only point I wish to make. I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but if there is some answer, I think it has to be found now.
That's it. Shri N.R. Dasari.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Chairperson. I don't want to take much of the time because it then has been sufficiently explained by my colleagues. Particularly, the speech made by Sri Pranab Mukherjee, I totally agree, lock, stock and barrel, with his clarification as well as his citations. Of course, it is no doubt late, but anyway, I should thank the government for waking up. Though it is late, but it has done for better. And also I would like to suggest to the government and to the minister, in particular who is now piloting the bill, to see that the Delimitation Commission would be given some latitude and also such sort of flexible approach also would help to make certain corrections as they are existing today. I tell you one example. In Andhra Pradesh state, there is one parliamentary constituency which is called as Bhadrachalam parliamentary constituency, covering about 4 districts, and the length of the constituency is as much as Kerala state. It's a fact. I have worked there several times, you know. Also, it is most of the constituency, part of the constituency is forest area. It's a different matter. But the question is, there is no harm in such cases if the Delimitation Commission will act with some sense of flexibility and practical outlook. And lastly, I would like to request the minister as well as the government to see, as many of the members suggested, that the census report would come out, of course not in a hurry, but in the next 5 or 6 months positively, and that also should be stipulated in this Constitution Amendment Bill. Thank you very much.
Shri Jave Gowda.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. The Constitution 96 Amendment Bill 2003, after seeing these clauses, only one word is in all class 2nd amendment, Article 81, Article 82, Article 170, Article 330. Instead of 1991, it is 2001. It is very simple. But just 10 months back, we passed the bill stating on the completed census report. Now we are talking or discussing on the bill in an incomplete census. But nation as a whole doubting the bona fides of this bill. How? Just 1 month back, we heard lot of cries and suspicion and anguish from various political leaders. Look at the BJP leaders of Delhi. Look at the leaders of Rajasthan of the Congress and other parties started doubting their seats. They are going to lose their seats. That is why these parliamentarians, to save their seats, they have brought in this bill. It is the common notion of the common people in the country. But to give our what you call the strength or views that this 2001 census will be completed within 3 months. Still I have a doubt. It is expected our election as usual it goes in normal way, it is 2004. Everyone is doubting, common people is doubting. The compilation of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes population is not being completed. And the leaders, those who are going to lose their seat on the basis of rotation, will not leave this government or anybody to implement 201 census within 2004. That is the doubt in the common people. I will give the example, Mr. Law Minister. From the state of Karnataka, one Kanakpura constituency is there. There is existing 20 lakhs voters are there. 20 lakhs voters for the parliamentary constituencies. Now it is proposed 2 constituencies. A delegation came to this delimitation chairman. Who are those? Chairman of the Speaker of the Assembly, Chairman of the Legislative Council, opposition party leaders and others, with a say that someone has influence in Karnataka to change the constituencies. Entire commission is working as this base. A false propaganda was being made. A irresponsible minister of the Karnataka state has made a statement in the house also.
In 95.
I am ready to answer because it is on record. I would ask the Honorable Minister how these facts are released, came out from the commission that this is the position, these are the constituencies, they are going everywhere in India. People started, this is the constituency going to change, this is the scheduled caste constituency, this is the adjoining area. How this commission is working? Are you not aware of these things? Have you not gone through the papers? I request, I am also supporting this bill. Why I am bringing to this your notice is, when the commission is working in such a way, under what circumstances they are going to release those information to the public, and it makes to doubt the bona fides of this great parliament. Under these circumstances, I request the Honorable Minister to see that before 2004, this 201 census is to be complied and is given effect to. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. That brings to the end of the debate. Mr. Minister, will you reply? As brief a reply as the debate was. Huh?
Madam, I am very
would you
grateful
like
to
to
the...
speak, Mr. Mishra? You would like to speak? No? Okay.
Madam, I am extremely grateful to some of the honourable members who have expressed detailed opinions on this bill. I'll just deal with 2 of the fundamental questions which have been raised by some of the honourable members. The first with regard to the rotation of the scheduled caste constituencies. The issue of rotation is not covered in the present bill.
96
It is a much larger issue on which we require a separate discussion. The present bill is only concerned with one limited issue as to what is the basis as the base year on basis of which the delimitation is to be done. Earlier we had anticipated that the availability of the census figure will take a reasonably long time. It had taken much longer even in the last time the delimitation was done. But these days with the best available software, I am given to understand that after the consensus figure is available, the completion of the delimitation exercise, which had taken 4 to 5 years last time, is a matter of months. Therefore, it does not take a much longer time. In the last 8 months, in fact, substantial headway also on basis of 1991 had been made. The issue of rotation has to be seen in the light of two facts. The first, it involves a constitutional amendment with a very major ramification. That can only be done if there is a larger consensus which is built up amongst political parties. Various discussions have been held amongst political parties also, and no such consensus amongst political parties has emerged. And therefore, the possibility of that being brought into this House for discussion or approval in the absence of a consensus does not arise. Secondly, those who have been supporting the idea of rotating the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe constituencies have been suggesting that constituencies which are indefinitely reserved, the general category voters in those constituencies do not get an opportunity to contest. And in other constituencies which are unreserved or general constituencies, general candidates are generally being put up, and the scheduled caste candidates there don't get much of an opportunity. This is the argument which they have been giving. The argument against this, besides the absence of consensus, has been that rotation will really mean that people stop nourishing their constituencies once there is a disincentive that next time the constituency is going to be reserved. There is one more consequence which we must be aware of. There is a difference in the Delimitation Act, and this difference has existed even in the earlier Act and the present Act, between the basis of reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe constituencies. Scheduled caste constituencies under section 9 will be those where the number of scheduled caste voters is comparatively large. Therefore, you will prepare a list of the constituencies where there is a large scheduled caste population. The larger amongst them, not with regard to arithmetical precision, but generally with regard to arithmetical precision, will be reserved. But if you find that all constituencies which are being reserved are contiguous to one another and not spread out through the state, some element of discretion exists with the Delimitation Commission to actually leave out some of the larger constituencies and to go to the next larger constituencies so that the seats of the scheduled caste could be spread over. However, with regard to the scheduled tribe constituencies, the words which this House has used consciously is to reserve those seats where the scheduled tribe population is the largest. That is, wherever there is the largest scheduled, if there are two scheduled tribe constituencies in a state, the first two in terms of population will automatically get reserved. Now, if you start rotating them, one of the obvious consequences will be that where there is the largest scheduled tribe population, next time would be represented by a general category candidate, and you will find scheduled caste tribe reservations taking place in constituencies where the tribal population does not exist. Now, this can be one of the consequences of rotation itself, and faced with this anomalous situation, this has been discussed between political parties and a consensus of rotation has never been reached. And therefore, in the absence of the consensus, the government is not in a position to bring about this particular proposal before this Honorable House. The second is with regard to this freeze on the number of constituencies which we have imposed till 2026. 2026 is not a figure which has been arbitrarily picked up or a date. Under the national population policy, 2026 between the center and the state governments is the anticipated date by which we expect, on view of all the measures, the population of the country to stabilize. And therefore, it is only in 2026 this House will get an opportunity to rediscuss what the basis of the number of constituencies could be. Till that time, if we start increasing the number of constituencies as per the population increases in various states which has taken place, it would go contrary to the proclaimed national objective in the population policy. As the honorable members themselves just mentioned, there are states which have done exceedingly well in stabilizing population. Because they have stabilized the population and implemented the population policy, there would be a disincentive to them in as much as their population, the number of seats in those states would get reduced. And those defaulting states as far as the population control program is concerned, because they have defaulted and failed to control and implement the population program, would get an incentive in as much as their political representation in Lok Sabha would increase because the number of seats would increase. And that is why a conscious decision with the consent of all political parties was taken that till 2026 we have this freeze which should continue for the present. There are several factors which the honourable member from the opposition bench, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, mentioned, particularly with regard to the possibility of distortions and asymmetries which are created in the process of delimitation. The honourable member was right when he mentioned, because there are a number of, for instance, Delhi has 2 constituencies, one with a population voter strength of 4 lakhs and the other with 30 lakhs. Now these are existing because asymmetries which have come into existence. So the basis which we are following now is the number of seats at the national level will remain the same, the number of seats in the states will remain the same. The scheduled caste, scheduled tribe reservation will be as per as the 2001 census. Constituencies will be broadly equal. Now when we say broadly equal, you cannot have it exactly or identically equal. But while making them broadly equal, that is the spirit of Section 9 of the Delimitation Act, the geographical features, the methodology of communications available, the facilities available, various other geographical features such as rivers, mountains. For instance, if there is a mountain range which is coming, an effort would be made to have constituency on one side of the range rather than allow it to go on the other side of the range. These are all indications which we have given. The Act has not, and what Mr. Pranab Mukherjee mentioned, the Act has not nowhere stated that a 10% deviation in this regard is permissible. It appears that the honourable member is right, because in their internal guidelines, so that the Delimitation Commission does not itself act arbitrarily, they follow one yardstick in the case of one state or one constituency, and in the case, a different in the case of others. In their internal guidelines which they have published, the honourable member is right, that they have kept this 10% upper cap as the maximum deviation in the population and other factors which they can bring about. It's an internal matter for the functioning of the Delimitation Commission. It is their guideline, and the government or this house has in no way in the Act or by any other executive guideline so advised them. One question, sir, which we have all been concerned about is as to when will this exercise be completed. Between the 1973 delimitation and the present delimitation, one fundamental difference which has taken place is the availability of first-class software which is now available. Even for the purposes of census and calculation and processing that data, that facility now is available. Mr. Nariman raised a question, and some members expressed concern as to when do we anticipate that those figures to come. The provisional figures of the 2001 census have already been published. The provisional figures are all available with the Delimitation Commission. The Delimitation Commission can start functioning with those provisional figures. The final figures are expected to be published around September or October this year. The difference between the September, the provisional and the final figures is not so much relating to the volume of population, but to the tabulation of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe population, which is an exercise which is on as far as the census figures are concerned. And once they have the final figures available and the delimitation and the census figures are published, the Delimitation Commission in that event could then formally start the exercise once again, because some of the basic data has already been prepared on basis of 1991. In the software which is available with them, they'll have to retabulate the data on basis of on the basis of 2001, and that exercise will not take a very long time. I cannot today hazard a guess as to what is the exact date by which they will be able to do this. We have also to bear in mind one fact: under the provisions of the Act, once that report is submitted to the government will then have to notify the report after all the objections are invited to that particular report. We also have to bear in mind, as the Honourable Member Shri Pranab Mukherjee said, that some reasonable time has to be given to sitting MPs, sitting MLAs, and also to potential candidates, that they must know the exact geographical size of their constituency and the exact nature of their constituency. So this information has to be given to them reasonably before the election. So if the figures are made available to us on the absolute eve of the election, it may be a little difficult to notify them for elections, and maybe the date of notification can be post-election. But if it is available with us reasonably before the election, then after consulting all political parties, and this is not a matter where government would like to take a unilateral decision, since it concerns each one of the political groups represented here, we will at that stage take a decision in this regard, so that reasonable time is available, and that would depend on how early the Delimitation Commission could submit its report. Sir, a question which Mr. Nariman had raised was, Madam, the question which Mr. Nariman had raised was that since the Constitution amendment does not carry a provision that it will be applicable from a date to be notified by the government, then the Constitution amendment becomes applicable immediately. And if it becomes applicable immediately, now under the mandate of the amended Constitution, after both houses clear it and the presidential assent is obtained, the new constitutional amendment would come into force and 2001 would be the basis. Now, if for some unforeseen reason 2001 census is delayed, the figures are delayed, would we run into a situation where we are caught between two stools, as the phrase he used, so that we have no figures available as to how the next set of elections are to be conducted? That, I am afraid, may not be necessary, because under the Constitution itself, they had visualized a situation of this kind happening, and both in Article 82 relating to the delimitation, composition of the seats for the House of People, that's the Lok Sabha, and in Article 170 for the composition of seats of the legislative assemblies, the second proviso to Article 170 in bracket 3 and the second proviso to Article 82 3 itself clarifies, and I'll just read out the proviso, provided further that such readjustment shall take effect from such date on which the President may by order specify, and until such readjustment takes effect, any election to the Legislative Assembly may be held on basis of the territorial constituencies existing before such readjustment. So the framers of our in fact, whenever we read this Constitution document, at times every time we appreciate those who drafted this document, because almost every conceivable contingency has been taken care of at the time when they drafted the original text. So when the original Constitution was drafted, a contingency of this kind, where the next figures are not available, we don't jump into a situation of vacuum where we have no figures available. That's a situation where Article 170 and Article 82 have a proviso which deals with that situation, and therefore I do hope such a situation may not arise. Sir, with regard to the number of the constituencies, the honourable member and the minister, my colleague, had also raised this question, and some members had raised this question about the question of reservation of constituencies for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe voters and electorate. A conscious decision has already been taken by this House through the earlier Constitution amendment that whereas there is a freeze on the number of constituencies, the number of constituencies to be determined for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe reservation would be on the basis of the latest census figures. And those basis of the latest census figures in the earlier case was envisaged as 1991, and today it will be on basis of 2001. Whatever are the census figures available, as nearly as possible to that figure, in proportion to that figure, the reservation of constituencies would take place. With these words, Madam, I commend to this House that these amendments to the Constitution may be accepted.
Thank you. आपकी क्या समस्या है?
क्लैरिफिकेशन के लिए मैं पूछना चाहता हूं आदरणीय मंत्री जी से। बात ऐसी है कि मुंबई, दिल्ली जैसे जो मेट्रो सिटीज है, पूरे देश से बहुत बड़ी काफी मात्रा में लोग यहां आते हैं। उसकी वजह से यहां की मतदार संख्या बढ़ती है, और मतदार संख्या बढ़ने के बाद उसकी वजह से जो मतदार क्षेत्र है उसके ऊपर दबाव आता है, और टोटल कुल मिलके महाराष्ट्र की परिस्थिति ऐसी हो गई कि मुंबई, पूना, नासिक, औरंगाबाद, ये सभी शहरों, नागपुर, सभी शहरों में बड़ी भारी मात्रा में लोग आके रुके, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की वजह से आए। लेकिन ये सब आने के बाद में वहाँ की मतदार संख्या बढ़ गई, और ये मतदार संख्या बढ़ने के बाद मतदार क्षेत्र उतने ही रहे, तो देश से सब जगह से लोग आके रहते हैं वहाँ, और फिर भी वहाँ की मतदार संख्या बढ़ने के बाद उसके मुताबिक टोटल मतदार क्षेत्र यदि महाराष्ट्र का नहीं बढ़ेगा तो वो महाराष्ट्र के ऊपर अन्याय होगा। क्या मंत्री जी इस विषय पर कुछ बता सकेंगे?
नहीं,
ये जो सिद्धांत है कि सीटों की संख्या हर प्रांत में बढ़े, ये किसी अलग प्रांत के लिए अलग सिद्धांत लागू नहीं आज होगा, क्योंकि पूरे देश के लिए जो इस सदन का और लोकसभा का एक निर्णय था सब पार्टियों की निर्णय के बाद कि 2026 तक सीटों की संख्या ना केंद्रीय स्तर पर ना राज्यों के स्तर पर बढ़ाई जाएगी, और यह सिद्धांत जब तक वो निर्णय रहेगा तब तक लागू होगा हर प्रांत के ऊपर।
Thank you. Now, I want to tell the members that I would take the Constitution 95th Amendment Bill, which was the motion for which was moved by Shri Jaswant Singh Ji. So the voting is for the 95th Amendment Bill 2003. I shall first put the motion for consideration of the Constitution 95th Amendment Bill 2003 to vote. The question is that the bill further to amend the Constitution of India as passed by the Lok Sabha be taken into consideration. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against it, please say no. No. I think the ayes have it. Under the Article 368 of the Constitution, the motion will have to be adopted by a majority of the total membership of the House and by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of the House present and voting. A division is necessary. Please ring the bell. Division. क्या बात है? दबा दिया। जसवंत सिंह जी कुछ प्रॉब्लम है? कुछ प्रॉब्लम है? पहले आपका ले लो, पहले आपका ले लो। It is written 95th Constitution 95th Amendment Bill. It should have
after assent it will be changed to 88.
After it is passed, because just now it is the 95th Amendment. Please clear the lobbies. बेल चल रही है? ऐसा है कि जब ये पास हो जाएगा उसके बाद 88 है, वो 88 कह रहे हैं। जो मेरे बिल लिखा है मैं पढ़ी। हो गया? दे हैं काफी लोग।
Like you to explain the voting procedure again?
They know it. If they don't know it, then you can ask them.
I'll explain once. Right, I'll explain.
We had it the other day.
Some new members might have come.
Okay, sure.
Madam, you may ask if the lobbies have been cleared.
हाँ, क्या हो गए? Lobbies have been cleared? Okay. I would like the Secretary General to explain the voting process, please. There may be some new members.
Honorable members, for your convenience, I shall explain the voting procedure by the automatic vote recording system. It may please be noted that each member has been provided with an integrated microphone and voting console containing 4 buttons: P for present, A for ayes, O for abstain, and N for noes. There is also a separately situated security button in red, vote activation, provided on the language selector. A red LED vote now lighting during the voting period indicates that the voting functions are operational active. To record a vote, a member has to press the vote activation button and one of the voting buttons of his choice, that is ayes, noes, abstention, simultaneously. Each voting button has an assigned LED indicating the correct and valid voting function as long as the button is pressed together with the vote activation button. The voting process starts with a musical sound on the large screen hall display in the 2 corners of the chamber. Each member has to keep the voting button as well as the vote activation button pressed simultaneously for 10 seconds. That is at the time of closing of voting in order to register a valid vote. During the voting period, the member can change his vote at any time. The vote cast at the time when the voting period is ending will be valid. That is, the buttons kept pressed at the 10th second will be recorded. In case either one or both the buttons are released prior to closing of voting period, the vote will not be registered. The time is also indicated on the display board. If a member finds that he has voted by mistake by pressing the wrong button, he can be allowed to correct his mistake provided he brings it to the notice of the chairman before the result of the division is announced.
Okay. I'll put the question again. The question is that the bill further to amend the Constitution of India as passed by Lok Sabha be taken into consideration. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. I think the ayes have a division.
I am starting the voting now.